I move for no man, no man, no man, no man, no
We'll call it a draw.
man.
Just a flesh wound, 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 just a flesh wound.
I don't know how long the tunnel is, but basically it's pretty close. So
To the
fucking
tunnel,
5 miles
like,
maybe tops. I don't
you're
know.
right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're super tight to New York City. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I guess we got three different point of views here on three different cities,
Yes, sir.
country. We got Jersey, Florida, and Dominican Republic.
Woo.
So what has your experiences been like with this whole shit show? Let's start with Garry, which has it the worst right now in
Yeah.
New York. New York City is the worst
He is
right
in the
now.
tri-city area. Yeah.
So I have been to New York since like the lockdown and stuff started. I would say it seemed semi busy still when I was there, but as time progressed, things started to get definitely like much more vacant. There was nobody on the trains. It was just I didn't see anybody around, but I wasn't like shopping or anything like that. So I had what was I gonna say? But once things really started shutting down, I wasn't going to New York anymore. I was pretty much strictly staying in Jersey. So in Jersey, this is what I'll say. I think there are places, because this is just what I hear, that are being a little bit more policed than others. But the places that I have gone, both in Secaucus and back, because I'm still in the process of moving, so I have a bunch of shit at my old house that's in Monroe. So in both stores in Monroe Township as well as stores near Secaucus, basically, I just see like way overcrowding. Like I've never seen stores more packed in my life. I've seen mild precaution as in terms of like social distancing. So that what they do is where the checkout counters are. Now in Monroe, I didn't see this at all. Like it's not Monroe. Technically the Home Depot's in, I forget the name of the town, Milltown, I think. And
yeah.
there were no precautions whatsoever in terms of social distancing. I didn't see any markers. Nobody was policing how far people were away from each other. And the parking lot was packed. I ran in and grabbed a measuring tape. I needed to like section off some mat pieces because I was selling some of my mats.
Did you wear a mask?
Sorry?
Did you wear a mask to the
No.
store?
No.
Okay.
So then the other place that I was in like a couple different like shopping centers like up near Secaucus, and same thing, like stores more packed than I've ever seen it. Now I've only lived here a short time, but in the short time that I lived here prior to this and now, I saw way more people around, and they did some mild social distancing work where they put some X's on the ground where you were supposed to stand between when you were in line. But everybody that was walking around the store was still passing each other and still going close, like walking down aisles and stuff. I don't know, man. The way that it seems like to me, at least the way that New Jersey has been conducting things, it almost seems worse than if people were just at work doing their normal everyday shit. Because now there's only a few locations open. People are bored. They're just going to those locations just because they have nothing better to do. So they fucking go shopping. They go to Home Depot. They go to Target. They do whatever the fuck. And these places are packed now. And of course, there's people there that are sick. I mean, they might not know it. So it's drawing all of these people to centralized locations where they can get sick. Now, people can argue with me one way or the other. I posted something about it on social media. I feel like the way that they're conducting the shutdown is piss poor. If they conducted it well, maybe it would be okay if they limited the number of people in the stores, this, that, and the other thing. But the way that I see it, it's a shit show, and it's almost worse than if they didn't do anything at all.
I think it has to do with the area and the way that they're managing certain areas. I think I'll tell you about my experience, which is horrible, and they have been policing the fuck out of the supermarkets. But I want to hear Chris's take, because in Florida, I know that I went to college in Florida, so I think that they're being a little strict as well. So how has been going to like the supermarket and places like that over in Florida?
Well, you went to FIU, right? FAU?
No, Lynn University.
Oh, Lynn. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
right where I'm at. I'm in
they're
Boca.
nearby.
No, it's right. I pass it all the time. I actually just picked up some food over there. But yeah, no. I think the way that they've been policing it down here has actually been they've done a really, really good job. So I was at Trader Joe's just a few days ago, and they actually, I got down here about 2 weeks ago. As soon as things started getting hairy in New York, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be here. I am going from gym to gym, and then I potentially go home to see my family. My father's high risk. My sister-in-law just had knee surgery. She's high risk. There's children in the house, and I had no reason to go to my household, my family. You know, so I'm like, I don't need to come and bring anything that could potentially be in any one of these gyms or anything that I'm. You know, at that time I was thinking this is grandma disease, so like I'll be fine, but I don't want to bring it to grandma, kind of thing.
Sure.
You know, so I'm like, I don't need to be here. So I also heard that the flu doesn't like warm weather. I do, so I shoot down in Florida. This was 2 weeks ago. So
Sure.
I come down here, and honestly, they were already in place. I went to Trader Joe's, and there is a line to get in, and they literally watch. One person goes out, one person goes in. 2 people leave, 2 people go in. And they sit there, and you have to sanitize your hands. And the cart, they hand you a cart that's already wiped down. And people are aware of social distancing.
None of this shit is done by me.
Yeah.
None, like sanitizing carts, fucking. The closest I came was at the one Target I went to. They sanitized like the counter where you were checking out.
Yeah.
That was it.
Dude, the Publix down here, you come in, like there's one entrance, and they tell them you got the entrance. They're like, hey, go to the other entrance where you can get a sanitized cart. And I'm like, what does that mean? I walk to this. There is a person there, wiping down the carts, and goes, hey, how are you? Here you go. Here's your cart. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. and they're not packed. There's plenty of space and room. I mean, down here is very different because it's a very wide open community. Like there's grocery stores every corner. It's not like places in Jersey. It's not like places in New York. It's not like Long Island. So it is definitely a whole different look, but I do believe they're doing a very good job down here in terms of the distance of people in congregating areas.
Yeah, it's exactly just like that in the Dominican Republic, at least like the city in Santo Domingo. It's exactly like that. I have to wait in line. I had a little list of probably like 10 things that I wanted to buy. And after making that line for like 30 minutes, my list like tripled because I never want to go back there until this thing is like done. I was like in this hot ass parking lot, just
trying to limit it as much as possible. Like as a thing, like I end up like, I think I'm going to spend $100 and I spend $300 because I don't want to go back.
You're kind of at a cross between like you don't want to go back, but at the same time you don't want to be one of those dicks who's like hoarding everything, you know, fucking buying thousands of rolls of toilet paper, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, do I buy? How much do I buy?
Does anybody have an idea of the toilet paper thing? Like, what is that? I still haven't figured that out. Like, what is the toilet paper thing?
So I think my guess is what happened is people were freaking out, and somebody saw somebody buy a bunch of toilet paper. And because of social media, it just started to blow out of proportion. So everybody started hearing about people buying toilet paper. And because they heard that
they were running out of toilet paper,
and it was like this chain reaction where everybody started freaking out, like, oh, I'm not going to have any toilet paper. And they fucking started buying it all up.
Yeah.
Stores,
it's crazy.
You know?
I don't know if you guys would
snowballed.
Did you see the fist fight? Did you see the fist fight break out? Did you watch like any of them online? Because I saw like a few, like specifically. Yeah. And there's like a chick with like a cart full of toilet paper, and then the other chick's like, I just want one. And she just starts
but that was like
off on her
that
head.
was so bad, dude. Like, where's your humanity, bro, in this situation? Give her one fucking roll. It. She had like 15 in her
you
cart.
see the lady who ripped the toilet paper out of the old lady's hand? It was literally grandma, and she's like coming, and the woman like, wow.
These are wild times, but you know, New York City has 50% of all the people infected in the U.S. So right now that's like the worst place.
Yeah.
My brother's NYPD. He's a 19-year veteran of in Brooklyn. He is a detective, high-ranking guy. You know, he's at work every day, and they're doing 12-hour shifts at this point, 6 days a week. And he's been telling me what's going on, and dude, it's a horror movie.
Oh, the one thing I'll say, I know. Sorry, you're commenting about your what family member was it? You said
my brother. Yep,
your brother.
Mm-hmm.
So this just reminded me because you guys were asking me like what New York looked like. Well, so because it's so much more vacant, all of like the homeless people and the fucking people that just kind of hang around and cause fucking trouble, they're like running shit. So there's like cops everywhere, but like these motherfuckers, they know they're going to be able to get away with more shit than they normally be able to get away with. So they get in your face more, you know, if they see you in just by yourself, they'll fucking approach you with like a group. Like it's not safe out there, man. It didn't feel right. You know, you'd be walking through the train station and there'd be like fucking 30 fucking vagrants around you. And you're just like, oh man, this is not good.
Yeah, it's probably because the numbers, there's usually so many people from the fuck with, they've never fucked with you before. But now, because there's not as many people there with you. My brother told me overall crime in the city is way down. Domestic violence, way up. So
oh, yeah.
Who wants to be stuck with their wife or their girlfriend or, you know, whatever.
Sure.
But
well, Chris, you told me that your brother has been working nonstop. So I suppose that all cops are working around the clock and you know, they're required to be more active, and maybe they can't.
Not necessarily. The cops, they have to be careful how many guys they have in a unit in one building because of the congregation of multiple people. Okay. And there's just not as much to do. You know, they need to have omnipresence. That's like being available and on the street. Like Gary said, like you see the cops are there. That's what that is. That's what they call that, omnipresence, being around. They're not doing necessarily anything, but their presence is known. And that is supposed to make people feel more comfortable because there's help within reach. But at the same time, there's a lot less going on, so the workforce is a lot less. But also, a lot of the cops are sick. A lot of the cops are sick.
They have to be dealing with people.
Right. And they're actually getting tested. My brother's building alone, I think something like 15% of the workforce is actually home on sick leave right now. Mm-hmm. And he had multiple cases in his building. And they had a guy who died. My brother knew that the officer, the first new NYPD officer, died yesterday or the day before from corona. So, you know, it is affecting more, and it's getting closer and closer to home, I should say.
I have a friend of mine who trains at my academy who was talking to me today about it. He said that they reduced the unit size. So like the group of people that they're working with is smaller than usual. Like let's say it's usually 10 and now it's 5, because their theory is that if they're working with less people, there's less likelihood that like if one person gets it, they're going to give it to like the whole unit, you know? And he was also saying that they're like kind of intentionally making sure that they don't have to like stop people for things. Like normally where cops would like wait on the side of the highway and they're like making sure that like people aren't speeding. He's like, dude, honestly, he's like, we're trying to find places that we can hide out where we're not going to see somebody speeding at 120 miles an hour, because if we see it, we have to stop them. But we don't want to have to do that because we don't want to be exposed to people right now unnecessarily. So we pretty much just hang out and wait. You know, if there's calls, you know, like things like you just mentioned, like domestic violence calls.
No, I mean, you got to do your job. You got to police. You are a policeman. But now's not the time to give a summons for smoking weed on the corner.
He said,
you know,
basically, if you're not murdering people,
for real serious stuff.
They're probably not doing shit to you.
Gary, I saw you got a lot of hate on that comment that you posted.
Sure.
But I suppose, like, I was reading some of the comments that people were leaving, but I suppose that they were talking about maybe their own situations on, you know, how everything's being structured, or of course.
Like what you guys just talked about, like your experience with what the whole lockdown has meant for you is completely different than what I've seen in the 2 places that I've been. Like you guys are talking about like heavily policed, heavily regulated shopping and stuff like that. Like the places I went, nothing was regulated. There was tons of people there. Like it seemed worse than.
Let me cut you off at the same time though, like, about like the policing. Like we're not that policed here. Like there is like in the areas where we're supposed to be, like Congreve, whatever. But otherwise, like it doesn't feel like.
But
much
I think maybe policing of like how you manage your supermarkets. Maybe someone could be stepping up and obligating
actual policing.
Yeah, like making these businesses have a safety protocol.
Sure. That's what I was kind of commenting on, that people got a little uppity on. I mean, people are still upset about my whole general, you know, I have general concerns, and this isn't saying necessarily that I know better than anybody or anything like that, but I do have the following concerns. And this is what a lot of people get up in arms about, and they immediately assume I don't care about people and they think that I don't give a fuck. But the whole reason I have these concerns is because I care about people, and that's what they don't get. So I often mention the economy when I'm talking about like a lot of my concerns, and I say like, hey, listen, like this whole lockdown situation is heavily damaging the economy. And what I wonder, not necessarily know for a fact or anything like that, what I wonder is, hey, the amount of people we're saving by locking down everything, you know, whether it's because of overcrowded hospitals or because of the virus itself, right? What I'm curious about is what is the long-term implications? Like now we just found out that we're shutting down till April 30th. So that's like a long time. I guess that would be would that be 6 weeks total?
Like nationwide?
That's what I heard. I don't know, unless it's something different.
That's about 6 weeks. Yeah.
So I think it would be about 6 weeks. I don't know what the actual implications of that are compared to what the implications of the virus would be. Now, like basically what I'm concerned with is like a single mother of two who lives week to week, who now lost her job and will no longer be able to afford rent and is probably going to lose her house. I'm concerned with her. I'm concerned with the dude who's going to be under so much financial pressure that he might consider committing suicide. Like these are realistic concerns. And I wonder to myself whether or not they're at a certain point, as far as lockdowns are concerned, if that's going to outweigh the risks of the actual virus and overcrowded hospitals. Now, everybody's saying, oh, trust the experts, trust it. But the experts we're listening to are from the CDC and from the WHO. These are from organizations that are concerned with public health. They're concerned with the virus. They're concerned with saving people to make sure that they're not going to die in hospitals. They're not talking about statistics about suicide and homicide.
There's definitely
that are going to happen because of the fact that we're under a financial lockdown.
100%. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was reading up on the Harvard Business Review. It says that at the moment, we are facing a worse crisis than the 2008 crisis. And repercussions could be even worse than the 1929 Great Depression.
Sure.
So at the moment, 80 million Americans are forced to stay home. It's what Gary's saying. Like this is the first time that this ever happens in modern times, So
sure.
we don't know all the rippling effects that are going to be created from this.
Yes.
But I understand what you're saying, Gary, and I'm kind of on the fence. Like I don't know. I listened to President Trump and the economists and stuff like that, and I honestly don't know which way to sway on what strategy is better. Like, should we lock down for a more prolonged time or for a shorter time, mitigating what's to come financially?
Well, okay, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not chiming in and be like, well, this is the way we should. I don't know that.
Sure.
And
like
because honestly, none of us do. None of us do.
Of course.
Apparently everybody else disagrees, and they know for sure the right answer about everything.
Well,
I definitely am telling you.
They should probably be working for the government then.
Yeah. I have an idea, and for one, I don't think the CDC's issue or even their whole idea or anything they think about, they're not thinking about the economy at all. That's not what they do. That's not what the CDC is for. Like you said, the CDC is for public health. And the issue is that the virus could potentially be, because we still don't know this thing yet. We're still figuring this thing out. It could be even worse than we're suspecting could be. And we're realizing that time and time again. So it's way worse than we thought. Like and we don't know how bad it's going to be, right? So the CDC that's their concern. Now, of course, obviously there's other factors. There is the economic strain. There is the idea what Frankie said about this is going to be worse than the 2008. I disagree that it's going to be worse from a market perspective and economy-wise, because this is not a systemic flaw. This is a finite market drop caused by something that we are going to get, and the economy is thus going to pick up once we're done. We just need to get past it. And there are the curve droppers and the people, the idea. The thing with that, about leveling the curve, is an XY axis, right? It's a bell curve.
Yep.
if we level the curve, the amount of time that we are expending in the downtime, the curve will last a lot less time. Problem is that the pressure on the healthcare system is going to be spiked, and it's going to be too hard. We can't deal with it. Because right now, honestly, New York's failing. The health system in the major cities across the country are failing, and this thing's in its infancy. It's going to expand. It's going to get worse. More and more people are going to infect. They're saying 2 weeks until New York hits its height. That's fucking bad. People are dying by the minute. So leveling the curve in places like New York makes sense. So we're not overtaxing the healthcare system. But from an economic standpoint, it's going to stretch out how long we're doing this. I personally, who the fuck am I to say anything? But I think that we need to treat different parts of this country like their own countries. You can't tell some town in Kentucky to quarantine the same way that you're doing New York City.
Yeah, of course.
It's a different world. You know, down here in South Florida is different than where I am on Long Island. My home in Long Island, family is that. I speak to them every single day in New York City, and they're telling me it's a war zone. I don't experience that here. I'm trying to stay focused and stay aware of what's going on out there. But I'm going for a walk every day and waving at people and saying, "Hey, good to see you. Keep your distance." But
with the sun shining down upon you.
100%.
Great weather, beautiful weather.
So I think it's really difficult for everyone to get on the same page in this country when we have such a variation of what this fucking thing is, you know. And I think economically it's tough because it affects the entire nation. If there's a way for us to resume business in the places that aren't hotbeds like New York City, that would make a lot of sense. If we can stay within ourselves to produce masks or whatever we need for PPEs, which are drastically needed in these areas that are hotbeds, it might spur some of the economy for the people locally, and then we're actually providing a service to ourselves rather than trying to outsource. But like I said, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like it's a really, really difficult thing to deal with because of how varied our nation is. Yeah. This country's huge. It's huge. It's not Italy. Yeah. New York City's Italy, but the rest of our country's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys being in New York and Chris being in Florida, it's like might as well be two different countries because you guys are like worlds apart, or you know, your current situation 100%. Is totally different.
Sure, definitely.
I'm FaceTiming my friend who's a doctor, and poor guy's got bags under his eyes and he's exhausted, and he's telling me he got so many people on ventilators. I'm watching young people die, and like we're pushing people to the back of the room, and I'm like, I went for a run today outside, and you know, like I'm eating steak.
Well, he's in the eye of the storm.
It's strange. It's very, very strange.
He's like right in the middle of everything, of all the shit show. You know, I'm sure if like one of us were to go in one of those quarantine camps, our perspective would be totally different.
Like going to these grocery stores, and you have that weird interaction with strangers where it's like, I need to keep my and stand away. Like that, I don't know how you guys feel. That's weird to me. Like, I'm not a really like social, huggy, touchy, but at the same time, like, look at people that I'm walking past and be like, stay where you're at. You know, like that's to experience.
Well, are people in Florida like respecting your space though?
Yes.
Because over here, everybody's like keeping their safe distance.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty much respecting that.
I'm not particularly too worried about it because I'm not interacting with people anymore. Like, I'm just by myself. I have my roommate. And that's pretty much it. Like, I specifically told my mom and my stepdad, like, stay the fuck away from me. I'm not seeing you until, like, you know, this is all, you know, said and done or whatever.
Yeah.
So
same here.
I don't know, man. It's not as concerning to me, you know, as far as getting it, because I don't think I'm going to die or anything like that if I get it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, though. You know, it's definitely a weird thing. Like, even for me, even though I don't care, it's like a weird thing to interact with people that do care. Because you go and like you want to like shake somebody's hand or something, and they're like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's fucked up. Like my community is very, very small. Like we have 3 buildings. There's not a lot of people. Like I never see more than a couple of people a day. I'm lucky that way. But I'm down by the pool, and I'm actually having some interaction with people and having a good time talking to people. But at the same time, like I'm talking to this guy. I just meet him. I know his name now. Normally, I would like to go shake this man's hand, look him in his face, pat him on his shoulder, offer him a beer. None of that is okay anymore.
No,
you know, and
yeah.
You know, it's a hard thing
You
to
can
cut
give them
yourself off.
the good old Corona salute. I break the ice right away. I'm like, social distance. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
Not even give it time to get awkward. People
Yeah.
understand. Everybody understands. Yeah, give me some elbow, dog. Yeah, not even.
High elbow. High
High
elbow. High elbow.
Yeah,
Cover
not
your
even.
mouth with high elbow. I will say though, like I walk every day now, and that's one of the new parts of my schedule since I have so much time. And I see a lot of people out here in South Florida, and I will say I like the fact that I would say 80 to 90% of the people I see wave and smile at the very least. Which I'm from New York, I'm not even used to that.
No, you're not used to that shit. People flip you the bird, bro.
Bro, you don't even live when you're passing people in New York. You're literally you got your elbow in somebody's rib cage. You don't even acknowledge that they're alive. You know, that's how New York is. But like down here, it's like you're on your bike, right? Hey man.
Chris, cheers.
It is Sunday at least. What do you got there? A little red wine? A little vino?
Little vino, doggy.
I've been drinking boxed wine like a real like railroad track hobo.
Because you're drinking in bulk. Boxed wine in bulk. Dude, well, I mean, you're drinking heavily these days, so you might as well buy some boxed wine. You know?
Bro, it says this.
Everything in bulk.
4 bottles of award-winning wine, elegant box. Sponsored by.
Beautiful. Yeah, Black Box Wine sponsor us. So Garry didn't see that this isn't really coffee anymore.
No.
He's never.
Nice.
No. We cheers while you were gone. Garry, what are you doing? Are you doing like online like classes? How are you managing?
So the fight got canceled because they closed the Singapore border, but it was still up in the air for a while as to whether or not they were going to do it. They basically moved it to Singapore, and then once Singapore shut their borders, they were like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this. Because Singapore kind of had the situation under control for a little while.
I heard that.
What I heard from a friend was they had shut their borders right away, and they kind of like weren't letting anybody in or out. But what happened is a lot of the Malaysians that come down and cross their border for work were just like, oh, well, if Singapore isn't like opening their border, well, we may as well just, as soon as they heard they were closing it, they were like, all right, we're just going to like move there. But when they moved there, they just decided to sleep on the streets. Like they didn't like get housing or anything like that. So there was like a bunch of Malaysians just sleeping on the streets, and they ended up spreading the virus more. Because there's a bunch of people just kind of like living together outside. This is what I heard. I don't know if this is accurate. But anyway, so that's supposedly what happened there. As far as me, like what I'm doing now, I'm with my gym. I still, of course, some people, canceled because they lost their jobs. They have bills to pay. It is what it is. I understand. A lot of people still stayed on contract because they understand that, like, I still have to pay my bills with the gym. So what I've been doing recently is I've been doing kind of like 3 or 4, and I've kind of like been breaking down videos. Like basically, like somebody will be competing, and I'll explain a particular move that they did or something like that. So I've been doing that in a private group for my students. I may, now that we just got the official word that there's going to be this shutdown until April 30th, I may decide to start some sort of an online site or something. I don't know for sure whether or not I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to act soon and decide that, though, because, April 30th is still a tentative date. They may decide to extend that. So at a certain point, my student base and everything like that is going to dwindle. They're not all going to want to pay monthly contracts anymore. The only ones that'll be able to continue paying are the ones that are still working, and that can't be everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. And at a certain point, rent will be difficult. And as so far as I know, I'm not getting any breaks on rent. I don't really take money from the business, so it doesn't affect my personal income. But it does affect the income of the students that I have to pay, the teachers that I have to pay. Yeah. So like I have instructors, like currently right now, I'm still paying all of them. I haven't told anybody that I'm not going to pay them just because, I know that they at least partially rely on that money, for things. So I'm going to continue to pay people until I can't do it anymore financially. So I've been paying them for not only the classes that they teach, but the privates that they're missing out on. So I'm doing the best that I can to be like a supportive, I'm just draining the business bank account basically. And it'll come to a point where I won't be able to do that anymore, but I'm going to do it as long as I can. But anyway, what was I going to say? I think probably the most sustainable business model I could do would be like doing an online site. In the meantime, I've never really been too much of a fan of that. It's a lot of work.
I don't know a lot about jujitsu or jujitsu training.
Yeah.
Like I know about the sport. I respect the sport. I don't know about the training or the instruction of it. Sure. Would it be possible to do like a live Zoom if you had your students tune in? Like
I could. The trouble with that is that even with that, the students, not all of them have an ability to train with somebody. Right, like some of them are home with their wife who doesn't train. Right?
Yeah.
Have
That makes sense.
anybody that they can call over to even train if they wanted to. So I mean, it's not a bad idea from a perspective of just keeping them engaged and like I'm going to do things like that. Like now that I know this is going to be more of a long-term thing, I'm probably going to commit to me talking or me like actually showing moves. But there's only so much that certain people are going to be able to do because they don't really have space to train or to even practice, even if they just want to practice moves. It's like kind of hard, It's not like boxing where like, anybody, I mean, you could do it in your living room theoretically, right? I mean, you could do that in jiu-jitsu, but you need to at least have mats. It's kind of hard to do on your carpet.
And you
have
something that you could do. Yeah, boxing you could potentially do it because you could do it solo, but at the same time, like there's a very distinct level to the level of person you can work with. Once you get past the point of like if you've had an amateur fight or a couple fights or God forbid you're a pro, like I can help you, sure, but like you're not gonna in to help. Like it's gonna be
work.
It's
fitness. I mean, what are you gonna be able to do?
Yeah, it becomes cardio kickboxing, essentially at that point.
It's not really practical. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't know, man. I'm gonna experiment with doing different things. I know I've seen a bunch of different stuff that people are doing out there. A lot of instructors are trying to just encourage their students to keep paying. I haven't really written anything like that out to my students. I just said, hey, listen, if you pay me, awesome. If you don't, I get it.
What about just doing videos of you yourself and like another badass that you can just kind of roll around and show moves and then like sell video? I mean, I'm sure I know a lot of you guys do that.
Sure.
I
may just come out with more instructionals. That's another option.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I can sell those, and whoever buys them, and if they don't, if they don't have the money, they don't have the money.
I think this is a great opportunity for guys like us to, like cross brand. That's like you do that. You sell your instructionals, but like it's a different kind of stage now. You bring in other brands to kind of cross promote, and everybody has to work together. It's like it might as well expand, the fan base or the people that you could tutor in this.
Absolutely, man. No, I totally agree with that.
Facts.
I got an idea for you, Gary. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Is it a fans only account? Because I already do that.
Yeah.
Ooh, we doing that?
You have your
beautiful
male porno.
Gary's the other one showing nipples here. Come on, we can make it happen. Ladies, I don't think any women listen to this, but
definitely not.
No.
We definitely have like a 1% female listening audience, and they're in the process of transitioning. And
they're beating up their boyfriends, literally.
Yes, they're beating up their boyfriends as we speak.
Eyewitness News, where news comes first.
Dude, have you guys seen the a viral picture of that dude with a sign that says "Stop posting your home workouts"?
Is it this guy with the overhead? Yeah, cardboard. Yeah.
Dude, it's so funny.
Yeah, fuck that post. Like people need workouts right now. Honestly,
I was actually gonna do one myself. So.
Do it. I'm doing it. Like do it. Like let people ask me all the time. Like, what can I do?
This guy is home workout shaming me.
Fuck that guy.
I can't do it anymore.
Is it corny? Sure, whatever. You're trying to help out. If you help out a couple people, it matters. It's
true. People do need. I guess it's more towards the people that shouldn't be maybe doing workout tapes.
Okay. get that, and there's a lot of that.
Now
But
everybody
if it-
wants to
if
do a
it
workout.
motivate
so
somebody,
has no
whatever.
business doing one, right?
Right.
It's like, dude, look at Fatty McGee over here trying to show me how to work out. It's
I
not
would
happening.
love to have my fucking dad do one with his big fat gut. Just
That'd be
get out
pretty
there
funny.
and do his squats and be like,
Yeah,
"Hey
he's
guys,
like getting
drinking a
shake
Coors
weights.
Light." Like, come on, we just started.
He's still holding a glass of wine in one hand while he's
Dude,
teaching the whole thing.
That would
Come
actually
on,
be
let's
hilarious. Have you guys seen Little Duval?
No,
You
I
guys
hear
know
he's
him, Little
hilarious.
Duval? Dude, he
No.
does a workout class at 9:30 in the morning every day. I think it's every day. And he does like
Like a live.
moves called throw that dick. And it's him just doing like fucking just thrusts. Yeah.
Throw that dick.
Throw that dick to the left, throw that dick to the right. It's hilarious. His classes are hilarious.
That's awesome.
Little Duval. You guys see the
Signing
John
up
Jones
tomorrow.
DUI, bro?
It was in
Oh.
Arizona, right?
That
Does he
guy
live in
just-
Arizona? Why is he just getting in trouble
Albuquerque.
there?
New Mexico, yeah.
New
I
Mexico.
think.
He's
Oh, no,
probably
New
like
Mexico. Okay.
he's probably like the most famous person in New Mexico. It's not that big.
That's a gangster ass
Dude.
place.
This guy just doesn't fucking learn. I mean, at what point does he stop driving?
Did you read the circumstances of it though? Do you know exactly what happened? Because I know what
Yeah,
happened.
dude, I even saw the body cam on the cop.
Fill me in.
So,
I don't know.
from what I heard, and then you can fill us in with the body cam story. He was in a parking lot with his car on, okay, and the police that were coming to the parking lot were only there because they were responding to gunshots that were heard in the area. So they come because of the gunshots, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on, man? You been firing any guns?" He's like, "Nah, I wouldn't be doing that. Don't know what you're talking about." And they're like, "Okay, can we do a sobriety
have a
test?" They do the sobriety test, and he fails the sobriety test. He tells them that he had driven and he was planning on driving. So, already he's going to get charged. And then after they take him in, they inspect the car and they find a gun underneath his seat, like with half a clip or something. So he definitely was the one firing the gun for sure.
From the body cam, what I saw the test, and he definitely failed that. And then, yeah, once
From
they
your
placed him,
non-professional view, he failed it.
yeah, they asked him if he had been drinking before taking him out of the car, and he like admitted it. He's like, yeah, earlier today I had.
And they
drink.
found an open
Earlier
container
than right
in his car too, right? They
Yeah.
had what was it,
So-
tequila?
He had a bottle of tequila in the back.
Yeah.
He told the cop that he was like going stir crazy, and he had to like just drive around. So, I mean,
Drive around drunk.
what an idiot. I mean, can't you just fucking hire someone, or maybe just pay a fucking buddy of yours? You know how many people would love to just drive around John Jones?
Not
Can't
me,
believe
but yeah. I'm
Oh.
sure a lot of people would.
You
But
got shit going
honestly,
on,
though,
but there's a lot of
obviously-
people that would.
obviously he has some kind of issue that he likes to flirt with that line. He likes to do these things. Every fighter, Gary, I don't want to speak for you, but every one of us has we have a mean streak and we have a self-destructive streak. Like there's part of us that likes to put ourselves in danger. That's why we're able to do what we do. So when you don't fight and you haven't had a fight, well, he hasn't fought in a while. I haven't fought in a while. I know that feeling. I've been there, especially when I was much younger than I am now.
Yeah.
Like I have that self-destructiveness in me where I may seek out ways in order to put myself in danger or at risk in order to feel what we feel when we step in the ring or step in the cage or step on the mat. That's something that we all have scarily, but it's like, I get it. Like I like you say these things like, I was guys so dumb. I'm like, yeah, but I get it.
I hear you, dog. Sometimes I just want to punch someone in the face.
Said no fighter ever in that tone.
What? Isn't that the way that we speak? No?
No, you just didn't sound like we. Yeah.
Anyways, so cops in LA have been issuing tickets to people that are too close to other people in public. A woman was stopped by the LAPD outside of Silver Lake Starbucks in LA last week and got a $400 ticket for being too close to another customer. How you like them apples? How crazy is that? Huh?
That's a bit much.
But they gave her a warning, and she did not oblige. So they ticketed her ass.
Oh, so she did get the ticket? Like
Yeah, she got the ticket. She got a $400 ticket.
Listen, I'm all about social distancing, but that's a bit much.
Yeah, I don't know. This is all creating some crazy scenarios.
Find you if you don't listen to the government.
And in your neck of the woods, Chris, in Tampa, this church called the River Church was packed to the gills with worshipers looking for hope. And Pastor Rodney Howard Brown, who presides over this like huge church, said that the only thing that will prevent the disease from spreading even more is his church. So he vowed to never close his church.
Yeah, that's a great business model.
Well, that's somebody that'll probably get fined as well, I'm hoping.
That's insane. And I've worried about that. Like these people who their livelihood, and the church is a business, the livelihood of those people that need congregation and need people to be together in a situation like this where we can't do that. Like that's fucking dangerous.
Check this out. He claimed that he'll cure coronavirus just the way he did with Zika.
He was the cure of Zika. That's good to know.
Yeah, that was him. It was all him.
Cool. I'm gonna hit him up.
Is Zika virus cured? As far as I know, it's still around. I didn't know that was.
Bro,
cured.
You didn't know that Pastor Rodney Howard Brown cures that shit?
I did not realize that.
Oh my God. How funny would it be if he's like just fucking getting paid, dog, curing the coronavirus, telling his people that he's gonna cure it?
Well, I guarantee you he is. He's making money. He's got people there. He's making money.
You guys watch.
I will cure the coronavirus within your body. Just give me that money. Give me that money. I was reading up on some of the ways that the coronavirus will change the world. And some people have been predicting that now that a lot of businesses are working from home and using freelance and the internet, that much more workers will work from home, and now these big corporations will establish policies obligating people to work from home. It's even cheaper for them to have like less office space, less baggage, less overhead.
I think what'll happen is this gives an incentive for companies to figure out ways to make sure that they can continue running even without having people coming in office. You know, previously they might have said to themselves, they're like, well, it's just kind of a little bit easier to have, you know, Jesse and Paul right next to each other to be able to talk, this, that, and the other. But now they're like, you know what? This is the only way we can operate. So we have to find a way to do it. Because it's not like this wasn't capable of being done previously. Yeah. It just gives people like a real strong.
Well, now they're obligated to do so.
Yeah, now they don't have a choice. So otherwise they can't run as a business. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see.
I'm interested to see how long that lasts. Yeah. I think like this guy this isn't out of nowhere. Like we were due for something like this. You know, the last big one was 100 years ago. You know, there's going to be another one in the next 100 years, something like this, but it's not going to be for a while, most likely. Hopefully. So. I think, I'm curious to see how long that would last. That's my kind of my thought on it. It's like, oh yeah, no, we need to be separate, and then we realize like, we're missing some of that continuity and that vibe that we get in person. You know, the digital is not the same. We need to bring that back together, and then things are fine for 50 years, and then something else happens. You know, I don't know. We'll see.
Sure,
we'll see.
I would like to see this. After all of this is kind of like a much more precise planned execution of what social distancing or quarantining looks like or whatever like this was just so imprecise, sloppy and like clumsy. And like I said, like it's still not really being done correctly. Nope. Where I am. Like if you're like, here's the thing. I have made comments talking about me not being sure if this was the right thing to do. But if you're going to do it, you may as well do it right. Like if you're going to shut down the economy over something like this, you can't have 200 fucking people running around in a Home Depot. You got to do it right.
You have
to.
Right.
That's all I'm saying is like I would love to see in the future anything like this happens, like just a much more precise procedure. Like this is just it's so haphazard, and people are just kind of handling it however the fuck they please.
I think in terms of a world standpoint, we got caught with our fucking pants down. Like
Sure.
Nobody did a good job. Like, we're not like, listen, everybody's saying, oh, what's done in China? I'm like, yeah, well, China is a fucking communist utilitarian state. They have video cameras in every corner, face recognition showing everyone you in contact with. That's not us. We have privacy here. They don't have that. Their citizens don't have any privacy. The government has access to everything they fucking do. They access their text messages, everything. We can never do what they did there in order to prevent the spread of this thing. It's a totally different thing. You can't compare. It's apples and oranges. But at the same time, is that the way to do it? Are we the way to do it? No. I mean, none of us know how to deal with this. We don't have the reserves. We don't have the access. We don't have the backup. No, well, that's another thing. We don't know this thing. We don't know exactly what it is. But at the same time, like we don't have any backup for this. We're not prepared at all. And I hope, like you said, Gary, I hope this is an eye-opening experience where now the next time we have concrete lines of communication and protocols for when this should happen again, because it's going to.
Did you guys listen to the guy that went on the Joe Rogan Experience talking about it at all, or no?
The virologist guy?
Yeah.
I did not.
I did.
Yeah. He was speaking a lot about the unpreparedness and how he wrote a book on, obviously it's, it's obviously selling himself a little bit by talking about the book, but still, like, just some of the things that he had mentioned, like a lot of the medicines, like the main medicines that just are necessary for survival for like a lot of people are just not made. Like there's no stockpile and they're not made in the US. Mm-hmm. So it's just like simple things like that, where whether it's just like having a stockpile of certain resources or making sure that there's places where they can be made, homegrown in the US seems like, I get why we outsource things. It's part of the reason that, certain countries, especially countries without, as many natural resources, are able to function. But there's definitely things like that I look at and it's like, all right, these are the essential medicines. It's like we should at least have a backup plan for when we can't get them from China, right? When we can't get them from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we as a world, honestly, the nations, we all work together because China is our biggest exporter of fucking everything. They make everything,
and cheaper.
And they make, of course, they make the global economy affordable. And then, we have a ton of oil here as well, but the OPEC countries, the Saudi Arabia, the Russia, us, we're the biggest, but between Russia and Saudi Arabia, we're number 2 with their combined. And that was that.
Sorry. This is.
Who the fuck is that, Gary?
It's Jeff Chu. He's cooking.
God damn
fucking
it,
Jeff. What a dumbass.
It doesn't. It's all right. We're good.
Sorry,
but
guys.
like the whole oil.
I'll do my best to get away from it.
I don't know if you guys heard about the oil mini crisis that we had when this whole thing kind of first happened. Is we all work together. Like,
is that super loud for you guys?
No, not at all.
Can't hear anything.
Oh, okay, great.
It's good.
So we had that mini oil crisis, which is maybe major oil crisis if you think about it from the market standpoint. A couple weeks ago when China went dark, and then we had OPEC trying to figure things out, and Putin goes, "No, fuck you guys," and whatever. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it's a long whole thing. But yeah, that's the world economy. We work together. China exports. We have these other countries, OPEC. The whole reason for OPEC is that we come together for the price of oil to make sure we don't change the world economy. But like Gary said, if something happens in China, which it did, and now exports stop and the global economy is based on that, we're all fucked. And that's where we're at. It's a crazy thing when you have to start thinking about domestic and you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, on a positive note, we have seen improvement in air quality now with less cars, practically no cars. Industry shutdowns means less emissions are being released, and the oil prices are at an all-time low. I saw some picture of dolphins in the Venice Canal, which is a dirty ass fucking waterway. So, like, more sea life is popping up everywhere now that we've given them a chance to flourish. How beautiful is that? You guys like dolphins, don't you?
I'm smoking
I know
cigars.
Gary does.
The pollution of my lungs is getting worse by the day because I'm smoking cigars every chance I get.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Stogies and wine.
And the pollution of my body as I
positives
put
and
out
negatives. Like you just said, like I'm sure like on some level, like pollution is going down, but it's also going up. I mean, there's got to be a mass consumption of resources now that people are fucking going out and buying, 4,000 rolls of toilet paper and shit.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that there's a lot less recycling and shit like that going on. So,
Well,
I know.
mean, this whole podcast has been like on this negative subject, so I kind of like.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dampen your positive spin.
Thanks, Gary.
That was rude
Asshole.
to me.
On a positive note, I have been getting a lot of vitamin D, and I feel fucking great.
Look at this
I'm
fucking
eating
guy
really
all
good.
tanned up. Fucking, he has a photo shoot
working
tomorrow.
out, I'm working. Life is good.
I might have to go down there now that I know that we're done till the 30th. Fuck it.
Bro, I got a spare room,
Are
dude.
the airports
It's
closed? though?
Literally,
Are the airports
No.
closed?
Now you can still fly, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're not supposed to. Like you're not
You
supposed
have
to
to
take unnecessary flights, but
no, this is necessary. You have to just quarantine for 2 weeks, which we don't leave here anyway. So
yeah.
All right, fuckers.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed our podcast. So hook a brother up and subscribe below. And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If not, I'll sick Gary on you. And yes, he has rabies amongst other diseases.
I move
Peace.
for no man. No man.